Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today, I have a wonderful guest. I know I say that about all of them, and they are all very wonderful and very special. Who wants to talk to somebody who's not wonderful and special, right? So these ladies who I meet, and they are wonderful, and they are special, and they have great things going on. I love bringing them to you. And today, I have Morgan Balavage, who has Splendid.yoga, and she is incredible. She is all about mind, body, spirit integration and working on how to manage your money mindfully. That's something that all of us can do. Hi, Morgan. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing beautifully. How are you, Angela?
I am fantastic. All kinds of energy from Zumba. So
Yes.
you'll see me kind of calm down as we go through this. So I love what you do. Earlier we were talking about, and everybody who's watched knows that I talk about this all the time, Ada Calhoun's book, Why We Can't Sleep. And what you are doing and offering women is just a great service because you have several different things for women who are trying to do all the things and trying to do it in a mindful way so that we're not just exhausting ourselves. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started in this world as a yoga instructor because yoga was the quickest way for me to fix my entire life. Just doing my yoga practice, all of a sudden, everything else in my life started to make sense about what I needed to change and where I needed balance and where I was overextending myself and how to set boundaries and being able to feel and control my body in the way that yoga allows you to was so empowering for me that I became a yoga teacher and I started teaching other people how to do it. What I discovered from there is that yoga teachers don't make a lot of money, which was not a huge surprise to me. In fact, I had a job on the side. I was working in the corporate world in parcels logistics and revenue management. So I was basically finding out where we were losing money and then I was fixing it. So once I figured, a lot of the concepts in the corporate world are really transferable to the yoga world. We don't look at it as a business, as a culture. We look at it as a healing thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't necessarily value yoga in the same way that we value, say, like an acupuncture treatment or like a massage, even though it may have the same, if not more benefit, because it creates a stronger sense of self-healing. So what that led me to was offering mentorship programs for yoga teachers because I saw all these incredible teachers who just couldn't afford their life. And I live in
Mm-hmm.
Santa Barbara, California, which is a beautiful place to live. It's also an expensive place to live. And these women, these men, these people I was mentoring, they couldn't afford to live here. And I didn't want them to leave because I wanted to take their yoga class.
Right.
So I created this mentorship program at the request of my students, of my yoga teacher friends who were like, how are you making this work? And what I discovered was if you remarket yourself, if you repackage yourself, not as a yoga teacher, but as a healer, which is in fact what you are,
Mm-hmm.
you can open yourself up to a lot more market than anyone who can get into the yoga studio. And so that's where I started finding ways to help individuals tap into other lines of work. For example, a lot of the people I work with have a background in nutrition, which is another great benefit to offer someone who's looking to feel better, right? How you move your body and how you feed yourself are kind of the two major ways that we make ourselves feel good in this world,
Mm-hmm.
in our bodies.
Absolutely. To support
So
all of those activities that we like to do.
absolutely. Yeah, this is all about creating the body that allows us to do whatever it is we want it to do. So for me, for example, I want to be able to go outside and ride my bike for 2 hours and not feel like I'm exhausted. So,
Right.
I do my yoga practice to prepare my body for that.
That's
Some of
awesome.
us need to be able to pick up kids all day long. And so you want to prepare your body to really be able to give and to be strong in that way. But it's all about being mindful in terms of how you use your body so that you don't injure yourself, so that you don't create more pain, more stagnation, more suffering, and eventually disease is what it leads to. So
Good.
as I've been working with my one-on-one clients, I've noticed a lot of themes come up over the years in terms of what the different demographics that I work with are experiencing. And I work with everyone from college graduates to women giving birth to women, perimenopausal and menopausal women, to women who are preparing to
Which is
leave.
what got my attention.
Yeah, I know she perks up a little bit. to women who are preparing to leave this earth. So the work that I do with each generation is very different in terms of how I connect with them, but ultimately all I'm doing is teaching them how to heal themselves using the knowledge that I've used to heal myself and those around me. And I've traveled the world and I've studied now for 15 years, studying not just yoga, but I'm now getting my master's in traditional Chinese medicine. I've
That's
studied Thai
fantastic.
massage all over the world. I've studied yoga tune-up is an incredible myofascial training. I've gone through pre-med classes. I've gone through cadaver labs. I've done everything I can up to this point to study and understand how the human body works. And more importantly, neurologically, and this is where a lot of the power in my work is, how we can use our brains to create more power in every aspect of our lives, not just in
Yes.
how we feel in our body, but how we feel about money, which is another big thing that people tend to have a lot of trouble with. And that was
Mhm.
something I found is even if I wanted to charge, and what it seemed like an exorbitant rate at the time, $200 for a private yoga session, like it's hard to find someone who's going to say, yeah, that's not a big deal to me. I know I'm going to get that value to it. We live in a cash-strapped world. We're going through a pandemic.
Mhm.
People are really scared with their money. At the
We
same
can spend
time,
$200 on a prescription,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's all
and
relative.
yeah, and then, we have to. Yesterday, I was talking to Lee, and we were talking about feeling guilty. So a lot of people would feel guilty for spending $200 on a yoga session, but then they go to the pharmacy, drop $200 on a pill, and that guilt isn't there. Sometimes it is. I'm not going to say that it's not, but sometimes it's not, sometimes it is, or it's maybe placed in a different area. Like I feel guilty for not being well. Um, and then what that does is it forces you to look at your values and say, where am I expending my energy? And am I expending my energy on things that I truly value? And that's where I discovered, holy crap, there are all of these things that I value that I'm not doing. And I'm feeling guilty because I'm shopping myself and eating myself to, extremes, spending money on going out to eat at McDonald's versus spending money on, maybe taking a class that's important to me, or, because sometimes that's $10, $10 and you've got a workshop, or $10 and you've got a nasty meal at McDonald's. And McDonald's is okay sometimes, but when you're doing it all the time and you're doing it to cover up feelings of guilt for not following your values, then that's a problem.
Well,
Um,
that's where the mindfulness practice comes in. And that's where I love a lot of my work, where it's in noticing, like, okay, did I eat those French fries and feel better, or did I feel worse? And sometimes, Angela, I feel better eating the French fries. Every
yes,
once in a while, I'm like, I needed that and it felt good. And I'm glad that I gave that to myself. If I
yes,
do it every day, nah, it doesn't feel that good if I do it every day.
right, right. And that's, again, like you said, that's the mindfulness of it, of doing it, saying, okay, I want French fries. Why do I want French fries?
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to get from this? And
Mm-hmm.
if I'm going to get something good from it, then cool, have the French fries. If it's not going to give me anything but feeling bloated and gassy and guilty, then I'm probably going to choose something else.
Well, and that's where we bring the mindfulness into the money, where it's like if you're spending money on things that are not making you feel good, then money is not going to continue to flow to you because you're just creating that energetic block that money is something bad and it brings badness into your life. If every time you pay a bill, you're like, oh my gosh, this is way too expensive. I don't know how money is going to come to me. That mindfulness creates that energy that really blocks the money from coming for you because that's what you said was going to happen. Whether or not the reality of you having the money in your account is there, like whether or not you have, $10,000 in the bank or $10 million in the bank or negative $100,000 in student loans. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you keep telling yourself how much you lack, you will continue to lack. If you
Right.
switch the perspective of like, I'm really grateful that right now I can write this bill and pay for this. And I don't know exactly how it's going to happen that the money's going to come, but I know that if I continue to work and serve my purpose, then the money will flow to me. And that's where I found the real power in my work is it really affects, everyone starting from a different place, whether you're starting in debt, whether you're, even if you're working with me in a fitness capacity, which I also do, as a yoga instructor. If you're starting from a place of like not being able to stand up and walk around the block, just learning incrementally to create simple systems to change your perspective, to come from a place of gratitude and abundance. and to do some practical decisions like, okay, let's talk about why you are eating all those French fries. Like, let's talk about why you are spending all that money. And let's talk about how it would feel if you spent money and it felt really good. Like, how much money would that require for you to have in the bank, for you to spend however much you want, $200 on a massage, $2,000 on a trip, $5,000 on a course. Like, how would it feel to not worry about that money and for it to feel good to spend that money knowing that it's going to make you feel better?
Right.
And that's where yoga comes in, because yoga is all about making you feel better. It's like really hedonistic in that way, and just allowing your body to feel really, really good, and in noticing when it doesn't, so that you can make adjustments, so that you can make it feel good.
Absolutely. And that just makes me think, you say you work with different generations, if you will, so you've got people from younger, even what is it that they call it? It's Generation Y or some Generation Z. That's the new one that's coming up. So you've got clients from that age group all the way up to end of life.
Mm-hmm.
How do they look at life in a different way? Because mindfulness changes as we get older. I really find that, here I am in my 40s. I wrote this morning, somebody asked, what is something I want you to do, a then or this and? And my this and was perimenopause is kicking my ass. Last night I didn't sleep. I had insomnia, night sweats, and all of this. And I absolutely love the wisdom that I have at 43 years old. So it's a wonderful thing, even if there's some things that are rough. I would not have been that way at 30, at 20. So how do you work or talk or use different vocabulary even with, oh, hey, baby, with these different clients who you have, and maybe even the gender differences too?
Absolutely. Yeah. I was actually just writing about this in my Facebook group about how it's so crucial to use different language with whatever it is that you're offering. When I talk to someone who has just graduated from college, when I'm working with them, like, we're mostly coordinating through Instagram, right? Like, they're not on the Facebook that often. Heaven help you if you try to email them.
Oh my gosh.
They're either texting over on Instagram. Versus the older generation, where it's probably going to be a phone call. It's probably going to be the best way to get a hold of them. But in terms of like what their perspective is in terms of healing, I think, was that your original question, in terms of like how
just kind
I'm
of
feeling right now?
yeah, all of it really.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. It really, like, it's not necessarily about the age. It's more about where they're at spiritually, where they're at in terms of their alignment with their higher self, however you interpret that, whether it's the universe, whether it's God, whether it's the Buddha nature, the Bodhisattva. However you connect to that intuition, that voice inside of you that's like, hey, go left instead of right today. Like, hey, try this new vegetable. Hey, you need to call your friends. Like, that little voice that's like, oh, and then something wonderful happens, or hey,
Yes.
you just avoided something that could have been a little bit dangerous. That little voice that just kind of sees from the bird's eye view what you can't quite see. That's what we're all about tapping into. And it depends really on how much trauma that someone has experienced in their life, and how much they're willing to feel that pain to let go of that trauma. And that's where yoga is such a beautiful thing, because it allows you to flow through that really literal scar tissue in your body, but there's also the subtle body scar tissue that Western science can't quite measure. Chinese medicine measures it like qi, so electricity. The closest thing that Western would understand it. But it literally gets stuck in your muscles, and the movements of yoga, as you move your body around, it allows those stuck emotions, that stuck trauma, all that stuff that it was just too painful to feel in the moment. It moves it through your body. And so that's where, especially working with perimenopausal and menopausal women, like, your body is beginning this shift towards a beautiful wisdom, but also it's beginning to shut down and turn things off, right?
Right, absolutely.
and it's hard for the body to find balance when it's like, wait, I just lost like this tool that I've been using for most of my life. Estrogen has disappeared. Like, what am I going to do?
Yes.
And that's where it's all about reaching deep inside and asking for help, right? You cannot get
100%.
through this alone. Whether you go through supplements, whether you go through estrogen therapy, whether you work with an acupuncturist, whether you find supplements, you change your diet, you change your fitness, you do whatever it takes, and you ask everyone, what do I do?
Yes. And find a NAMS, NAMS, North American Menopausal Society. Find a NAMS certified physician. That is
Yeah,
so, 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 so important, because they know. A lot of our doctors don't know.
yeah,
They,
yeah,
have you found that as somebody working in the health industry that you have a lot of information that doctors don't know? You're not a doctor. They have a lot of information that you don't know.
yeah,
But people automatically trust somebody who has doctor
yeah,
unless they've experienced trauma. They
yeah.
trust somebody who has doctor with their name more than they would, say, yourself, even though you may have years and years and years more of training and experience in what's going on with them.
So that's another generational thing where like the clients who come to me like are open to it, but I definitely like have interviewed clients who were just like, well, my doctor says to do this. And I'm like, would you be open to the information that perhaps might be different from what your doctor says? And they say no. And I say, thank you for telling me that. You have your healer, you have your person that you trust. That's going to be the best path for you. That has nothing to do with
Exactly.
me because what I suggest might be different. And I can give you the studies and I can give you the information, but we can't work together if you're not going to listen to me and you're going to listen to someone else first.
Right.
And you should be discerning, right? Like my message is never going to be the be all end all. When I'm working with someone, I'm channeling what they need. Like I have to step out of my own way to do my work, which is why
Yes.
I love my work. I love getting out of my own way.
Yes, that's so important.
um, but I only have what I have access to, and someone else has access to a whole different information. I'll tell you for myself, like I have like 4 different healers that I work with in any given 2-week period, because it takes a lot to heal yourself, especially
Hmm.
as the feminine. Like it takes a lot of nurturing to heal the feminine because we're so strong that we just hold on to it to like keep going and keep going, and there's
Yep.
such a beauty to that. But there also has to be at some point the self-nurturing and the safe haven within ourselves where we can really like access our private hearts and let ourselves feel all the fear that we're constantly like cycling through.
Yes.
Because as the feminine, like we're not just attuned to what's happening to us, right? We're attuned to what's happening outside of us as well, and that is exhausting.
Yep. Like you see those pictures of Mother Nature, and it usually has a tree, and there are these roots that are going, and they're just going in all of these directions. And the great thing about that tree is if it's flexible,
Hmm.
then she's not going to break. But if you're not flexible, you're going to break. A big
Yeah,
wind's going to come by, you're going to break, and it's going to hurt
yeah,
really badly.
yeah,
You have so much to offer, and I know that we could talk forever and ever about all of it. I'm going to put your information down below so that people can get that and contact you. People can contact you virtually. It doesn't have to be just a phone call or hey, I'm going to come into your office. You will talk to them online, just like you're talking to me right now. And like I said, you have a lot of wisdom and a lot to offer people when it comes to yoga, mind, body, spirit, when it comes to managing your money and doing that in a mindful way, not adding things to your plate,
mhm,
but helping you look at that and see what can we do without driving you crazy. And you have a pretty wide range of resources available to you as well. So I'm so glad that you came here today and that we could talk about this and get people to know that you're there to help them in any way that you can. And like I said, I'll put all of your information down below,
yes.
and people can contact you. They can contact me, and I'll contact you if I need to, whatever we need to do. Thank you so much for being here today, Morgan. It was really great.
Thanks, Angela. I appreciate you. Thanks for your work.
Thank you. Bye bye, everybody. Mwah.